to my NFL division prediction show where I go through every single NFL division, and guess what? I predict what is going to happen for the 2022 NFL season. And we've already done 2 episodes, the NFC North and the AFC East. And guess what's today? The AFC South. You already clicked on the video. You got a good idea of what to expect for this video. But how this video is going to go is we're going to talk about the first place team at the very end. And the last place team is going to be first. So to kick this all off, to get it right started, we're going to talk about a pretty bad team in the NFL, the Houston Texans. I think it's pretty straightforward, and people are not being blunt enough about the Houston Texans. They're not a good team, and it's pretty straightforward. This team's going to be buying for a #1 overall pick. I like Davis Mills. I like Brandon Cooks. I even like Dameon Pierce, and I love Derek Stingley Jr. He was one of my favorite prospects that I was hoping would fall to the Seattle Seahawks. But being a guy from Houston, I was born and raised. Listen, man, they're not going to be good this year. I do not love the ownership. I did not love the Lovie Smith hire. Look at that wordplay. Pretty good, right? I don't love a lot that surrounds Davis Mills. The offensive line is still going to be subpar. This running game is not going to be that great. You're putting a lot of pressure on Nico Collins. The secondary outside of Derek Stingley does not look fantastic. And I would like to say this and get this out of the way. I love what they are trying to do. And I think that they have added a lot of talent from what Bill O'Brien tore down. But they're still like 3-4 years from being a positive team, a team that should be expected to have a positive record. Unless something crazy happens and I miss something, they're still 2-3 years away, if not more, because of what Bill O'Brien did. This team's 4th place. I don't really need to sit here and explain that to you. I think that's universally known that the Texans are not going to be a good football team this year. They could potentially even fire Lovie Smith, and I wouldn't even be mad at it. And I would just like to say this. Prayers to John Mechie. Please get better, dude. You were one of my favorite wide receiver prospects, and I hope you the best, and I hope that you get well soon and take over this league when you come back and really be a bright spot for the Texans. But let's move on. The 3rd place team in this division and in the AFC South is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now listen, with Jacksonville, I have actually been relatively positive. I think Doug Peterson was a good hire. I like Travis Etienne a lot. And I think Christian Kirk was a good signing. Whether you think it was an overpay or not, it's so hard to get someone to go to Jacksonville, especially in a rebuilding situation. And what Trevor Lawrence needed was a guy he can consistently throw the ball to. And from what I've seen with Christian Kirk throughout his NFL career, he is a guy that's going to get 6 to 8 catches a game and really be a safety valve for a guy like Trevor Lawrence, which is something that he has needed during his 1 year with Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence has made some incredible throws during his rookie year that were just simply dropped. Now, he made a ton of mistakes and he did not play well, but you clearly saw the talent. And I think we're all waiting for the green light to put him into this top 20, top 15 range. But we haven't had that opportunity. Obviously, it's just been 1 year with Trevor Lawrence. I think Doug Peterson's going to unlock that gunslinger side of him and really make some really interesting creative plays to put his players in a position to win, which was something that Urban Meyer did not do at all during his tenure. Jeez, that was a run-on sentence if I've ever done one. Obviously, the defense is still not going to be great. I was not a fan of what they picked throughout the draft, but I still think Travon Walker is a damn good #1 overall pick, and he showed flashes during the preseason. So if he has a damn good year, this pass rush could be at least optimal, but this is still, like, the way I look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, they were a team that I really started to consider, and I don't overthink them. Because at least in my opinion, I started to overthink and be like, well, if this all happens, they could be a wild card team. I don't think they're a wild card team. I think when you look at the division as a whole, they're the 3rd place when it comes to talent. They're 3rd place when it comes to coaching. They have the 3rd best quarterback, arguably. Ryan Tannehill, Trevor Lawrence, I think we are all waiting for Trevor Lawrence to surpass Ryan Tannehill. But if we're just going off the 1 year in the NFL, we can't just go off of potential. So they have the 3rd best quarterback. They probably have the 3rd best weapon room and probably the 3rd best, I would say, defense. Like, it all points to them getting 3rd place. I wanted to potentially do a hot take where I have them in 2nd place, but I'm not going to do that. That's for clicks and views. That's not what we're here to do. Everything on my channel is genuinely my opinion, and like everyone's opinions, they change. So what a video says in a couple months, ask me now, and maybe that opinion has changed. But I'm not going to sit here and try to convince you that the Jacksonville Jaguars are the second best team in the AFC South, because that belongs to the Tennessee Titans. I'm telling you guys, this video is going to be much shorter than the previous ones because this division, in my opinion, is pretty straightforward, and I'd be shocked if any of these were incorrect. I'm confident in my picks, but I would be shocked and I would admit my wrongs if I get any of these wrong. I'm not going to be cocky about it, but I do feel like the Titans, when I compare them to the first place team, which is obviously now the Colts, they're the only team that I haven't mentioned, I like what the Colts position groups have more than the Titans. Obviously, you lose A.J. Brown. You didn't want to pay him. He was the only wide receiver this year that got traded that wanted the contract extension between Debo, DK, and Terry McLaurin. He was the only one that got moved, and you replace him with Treylon Burks, an unproven rookie wide receiver who I'm very high on. I think Treylon Burks could be a damn good wide receiver, but A.J. Brown was not a top 10 wide receiver coming out of his rookie year, and I don't expect that from Treylon Burks either. Obviously, the quarterback position is Tannehill, and Tannehill was not great when we last saw him, enough that they actually made a move for Malik Willis. And I do apologize if you hear my fridge. It always makes noise, and I try to talk louder than it, but if you hear a buzzing in the background, I can't control that right now. I'll try to put background music so you don't have to hear it, but I do apologize for that. And I do love their head coach. Mike Vrabel is a damn good head coach. We are talking about the #1 seed in the AFC. I don't think that's talked about enough, that the Titans were the #1 overall seed, and they lost to the Bengals, who ended up going to the Super Bowl. So I do have some expectations for the Titans, but they're actually expectations that they don't make the playoffs. I don't think they made enough moves this offseason. Obviously, Austin Hooper was a good addition, but they lost a lot. And I think A.J. Brown is not a guy you could just replace overnight. I do think that a guy like Robert Woods is a damn good signing. Robert Woods has been one of the most underrated wide receivers in the entire NFL, but their cap, or I would say their ceiling, did not jump up to me. If anything, I feel like their floor dropped. So what we were expecting was a potential wild card team, and I still think they could easily make the wild card. I'm not saying they will by far not make the wild card. I just don't have them in there because of how talented the AFC is. Maybe a couple injuries go their way and they sneak into the wild card, but I don't have them as this elite team that people should be afraid of. I think if Derrick Henry goes away, this team could really collapse. I do not love what is looking forward for the Titans because of how old a lot of these guys are getting. Now, Derrick Henry is not an old man, but he is definitely getting higher in age. So is Tannehill. So I do have some concerns with the Titans. And I think when going forward, I have them in second place. I would not be surprised if they got first, but I'm keeping them at second place because let me explain why I have the Indianapolis Colts first place, because these two arguments coincide together. Like I said, the Colts are the #1 team in the AFC South, and I have them as the #1 overall team in the AFC overall because this team, I feel like, is going to dominate the regular season. I am not talking about the postseason. That's for a later video. We are talking only about the regular season in all these prediction videos. I'm not projecting who's going to be a Super Bowl winner or loser. The Colts added Matt Ryan. That was their key addition this year, and I loved it. I think Matt Ryan is still a top 15 quarterback. He's better than Carson Wentz. Obviously, Carson Wentz still has some great moments. Everyone wants to remind me that Carson Wentz was not terrible the entire year that he was with the Colts. But you hear reports out of training camp, Matt Ryan is a veteran quarterback, and he talks and acts like it. And that's what the Colts have been needing for the past couple of years. They made the playoffs with Phillip Rivers. I feel like Matt Ryan right now in his career, comparative to what Phillip Rivers was on the Colts, is a significant upgrade. And I feel like maturity-wise and consistency-wise, he is much better than what Carson Wentz brings to the table. So Matt Ryan, major upgrade. I like him better than Ryan Tannehill. I think Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry are 1A, 1B. I think the wide receiver room when it comes to the Colts, if they sign a viable wide receiver 2, I much rather have their wide receiver core than the Titans. I like the Colts defense. Getting Stephon Gilmore is one of the most underrated signings in the entire NFL. He is still a cornerback 1. He has a top 5 cornerback potential still at his age. He's a defensive player of the year. Like, this dude is a dog. Darius Leonard, dog. I would say as well, DeForest Buckner, dog. And there's still some really young, talented pass rushers that I like for the Colts. I think this Colts team is primed to make the playoffs. They almost made it last year until they choked against the Jaguars. I don't think that's going to happen again. They had the most Pro Bowlers last year, and they still didn't make the playoffs. I think this team is coming back with a vengeance and is getting the #1 spot in the AFC South. And anything short of that would be a major disappointment in my eyes. I think overall they're more talented than the Titans. I wouldn't know if they're better coached than the Titans, but they're definitely more talented, and sometimes that's just going to put them over the edge. I have the Colts as the #1 seed in the AFC South. No doubt about it. I'd be shocked if it wasn't. And if you're at this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, leave a sub. Let me know if you want me to talk about a certain team in this division a little bit more and what division you want to see next. I'm bouncing to the NFC. I'm looking at the NFC South potentially as the next division I'm going to be talking about. But thank you so much for watching. We are on the road to 1,000 subs. So leave a like, leave a sub. It takes 2 seconds of your life, and have a wonderful day.